Hello.
Let's get down to business. Give you one more night at this. We've had just like this. So let's get down to business.
Hello, everybody. Let's just wait for more couple of seconds to let everyone else join in. Meanwhile, let's see where you're from. Let's network. Just use chat to introduce yourself. Networking. Tell me, please, where you're from. Oh, wow, Nigeria, Kenya, Toronto, Zambia, States, New York. Wonderful. Welcome everybody to my webinar, Essential Skills to Succeed in Project Management. Again, please network while I start sharing my screen. All right, welcome everybody to my webinar, Essential Skills to Succeed in Project Management. I'm so excited to see so many of you here today on Saturday, willing to know more about project management. So let me tell you about the agenda of today. Initially, I will spend a couple of minutes talking about myself. Then we will move on to essential skills you need to be a great project manager. After that, we will learn about essential certificates to level up your market value. Then we will move on to career and project management. After that, why it is easier to grow into CEO after you've done a project management experience. Later, I know many of you asked me about tips for project managers who are actually not project managers, who are not certified, or who just pushed in the position to run projects without having any project management experience. Later, we will discuss on how to run meetings. Again, many of you messaged me privately before this webinar asking on how to run meetings. And honestly, it's a topic for the next webinar. And we can have even a bootcamp how to run successful meetings. And actually, I do have one. It's about how to be a great facilitator. So I spent lots of time teaching how to run meetings, how to run productive meetings, which is more important than just run meetings. Later, we will jump into another question, which is managing team members in different time zones. And we will finish with tips on how to prioritize tasks and what to do when your team is in storming stage. And closing with your questions and last comments and notes. So let's get started. Hopefully you still see my screen. So my name is Aina Live. Those who see me the first time, welcome to my webinar. Those who've been to my previous webinars and to bootcamps, I'm so excited to see you guys again. I see your name, even though I didn't shout out you at the beginning because we have 60 plus people right now. So welcome, welcome. I see you are here and I'm so grateful for you to join me. So who I am, last year I was the top 30 female entrepreneurs to look out for in 2021 by the New York City Journal. I am an entrepreneur. I work for large enterprises in Canada and have shorter contracts in the States. And I also have a company called Be Agile Tutoring, which helps large enterprises in the agile transformation and mobilization, and also helping people like yourself by providing training and courses on relevant topics such as leadership, project management, and agile, and all topics related to agile. So I have 2 degrees. I have a master's engineering degree and MBA. I used to speak at TEDx when I was back in Vancouver. I was called Women in Tech Ambassador last year since I mentored 100 plus women on get their transition career to tech role. And I appeared, not many know that working in tech doesn't mean to know how to code. Tech also needs leaders, and that's what I teach here on this free webinar, Project Management Skills, because if you are project manager, but you run a project in tech. So you are still working in tech. So it's still transition to tech. I never wrote even one line of code. And I believe that this is my weakness, but it didn't stop me from working for tech industry. So now when I got to maturity in leadership, I still believe that we leaders need to have at least some experience in coding. But if you're just thinking about the transition, don't waste your time. Don't waste a couple of years learning how to code. Just learn about leadership if you feel like it's closer to you and you have transactional skills. So let's move on. I am an enterprise coach. I am an agile evangelist, and 3 fun facts about me. I am literally allergic to ice. I lived in 3 countries in 1 year, which is Ukraine, the Maldives, and Canada, so basically all over the world. And if you see me drinking coffee, it means I'm gonna fall asleep in the next 5-10 minutes. Coffee makes me sleepy. And a little bit about my project management career. So you see me featuring in Entrepreneurs Herald, Hot Living, and other magazines. So now my company is doing great. I develop my skills. I am a professional project manager, professional agile coach, and public speaker. I talk all over the world, but how it started? It was about 12 or 13 years ago. Oh my God, I don't believe it happened such a long time ago. No, I was a naive, quiet girl back in Ukraine. I was 23 or 24 years old. I was an electrical engineer, and one day my director just came into the office through a PM book on my desk and told, since today you are a project manager, please study it when you have free time and book a meeting with me in about 1 week, so I can hear what you are thinking about it and about your next steps. So I was super scared. It was like reinventing the bicycle. I was leading the teams, and as I told, I was young, naive, 23 years old girl, and most of the team members were men, twice older than me. It was difficult. I didn't know about the processes. By being the engineer, you just like need to draw your stuff and then give it to your manager, and then they were figuring out what to do with this next. But being a project manager, you need to communicate with the stakeholders. You need to know the bureaucracy. You need to know the processes. You need to know who is who, and kind of like political games. It depends on how bureaucratic and old your organization are. So many nuances. And first 1.5 years, everything what possibly could go wrong went wrong. I didn't like the position, but what I liked about it, I liked communicating with people. I like being a servant leader without even knowing what a servant leadership actually is. And you see that eventually I found out myself in coaching, being a coach for enterprises and for people, and also being an instructor. So servant leadership is one of my strong part of my personality, and that's why we are here. And hopefully by the end of today, you will find out something about yourself and your strong features. So again, a couple of articles I was featured in last year and this year, and I see most people already joined, so we can move on to the main part of today's webinar. So first, as I promised, essential skills which make you a great project manager. So there are many articles in Forbes, Business, Harvard Review, and other like projectmanagement.com where you can see the information about the skills project manager needs to have. But since today we are talking about more job-related stuff, so I decided to use the Indeed and Glassdoor as the main source of the information. So these 7 skills I took from the Indeed and Glassdoor articles from 2020 and 2021. As you can see, the first one, effective communication. So looks simple, looks clear. You need to communicate effectively. Everybody knows what communication means. Everybody knows what the word effective means, but putting this together, like what the hell do you want to say, Aina, by telling us effective communication, what it means to communicate effectively, what it means, like how can we measure our success of the effective communication. And I can tell you, again, it was another webinar or another bootcamp on teaching you how to communicate effectively. But if you imagine, for example, the gym, and you are working in the gym and you have an instructor and you are doing boxing, for example, there, and you keep like pushing with your fist. And since you are not experienced, your thumb can be somewhere like I'm showing you on camera, and your instructor can keep telling you, just put your thumb closer to the other fingers. And when you start doing your finger, again, your thumb is somewhere around, but not next to your main fingers. The same with effective communication. You can have instructor, you can attend webinars, but just practice, practice, and practice. And that's why leadership roles, project management, Scrum Master, Agile, it's easy to understand. It makes sense. It's kind of like common sense when you read about it, when you listen to webinars or attending the trainings. But when you start implementing, it's hard. So it's easy to understand, but hard to implement. So I really encourage you to have 3 to 5 takeaways after today's webinar and go and practice and practice and practice starting from Monday. So the next one, negotiation, managing conflicts. So again, one of the soft skills. The third one, realistic scheduling and time management. And I added realistic from my part. On Indeed and Glassdoor, it was just scheduling and time management. But what I found out working with project managers and the teams, for example, when we have 2 weeks cadence for delivery, 2 weeks sprint, people try to put everything inside and bite way more than they can chew and deliver at the end. So when I ask them how realistic it is, what is your vote for confidence that you can finish all of this in 2 weeks, they say, oh, 3.5. So it's already, we didn't start working and it's already not 5. So the scale is from 1 to 5 and they say 3.5. So it's a middle. If you are not confident on your first day, it means you will deliver even less than your level of confidence. So you're already not confident about your planning. So why do you keep adding all of this stuff in your 2 week cadence? And when I ask, so why did you add all of this? They told, but because everything needs to be done. So is it everything need to be done in 2 weeks? Initially they say yes, but when I keep pushing and asking what happened if we don't deliver everything in 2 weeks, what kind of a chaos we will create for organization, and appeared that people said, oh, so something or like a couple of stories we can't deliver during these 2 weeks, we just push to the next sprint. Okay, so it means it shouldn't be done in 2 weeks. It's okay, our stakeholders can wait for another 2 weeks. Am I right? And when you keep pushing people, appeared that yes, people just treat project management or task scheduling like a to-do list, just like putting everything together and hoping that everything is going to be done. And if not done, we will just keep pushing for a future timeline. But no, project management, it's about being realistic and pragmatic, not being hopeful. No, that's why realistic scheduling and time management is one of the top 3 skills for a successful project manager. In technical and field expertise, definitely it's easier to work when you know the field, when you understand the processes, when you understand the product requirements and what your team is building. But again, if you don't have the field expertise yet, if you're junior project managers, or if you are just thinking of pivoting your career, don't be discouraged about it. This is just 1 out of 6. So if you are good at managing conflict negotiation, if you are good at planning, you're good at time management, you're good at critical thinking, so still work on your weakness, get some field expertise by volunteering, or book a 15 minutes call with me later and talk privately about your situation, so I can suggest you how you can get this technical or field expertise. And now let's move on to the risk management. So we need to be ready to risks, and what's more, not just identify risks, but we need to plan the budget ahead, and we need to have a plan on how to mitigate risks when they happen. So we will be prepared, and project management, it's all about predictability and to being ready to uncertainty. The next one, critical thinking and problem solving. I think this is clear. I won't stop here to save our time for the next topic, execution, implementation, or monitoring and controlling. If you are familiar with project management, if not, if you are more related to words like execution or implementation, so all of these are synonymous. And I see we have people who are just thinking about project management or junior project managers, and I see people here with the title as a senior project manager. So we have such a diverse group, and that's why I placed this slide for you, DREYFUS model of skill acquisition. So when you are a novice, you definitely need a mentor or someone who is like more senior, so you can copy their skills, you can observe them, and to say it simply, try to be like them. Then you become an advanced beginner, so you can practice and experimenting with what you learned on the webinars like mine, on training, and again from your peers and your mentor. And then you become competent, so you feel okay on managing and running projects on your own. Then you feel proficient. After that, you are an expert and kind of image. I always imagine in the orchestra, and when the musicians are playing, and there is an orchestra man who doesn't play any musical instruments, but without him, nobody can play, and there is no music if we don't have an orchestra man. So I like to compare project manager with the orchestra. You don't necessarily need to know how to play all musical instrument or even just one instrument, but you need to know how to orchestrate, and you need to have this ear and to make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do on the right time and the right amount of time. And the last one is master. It's you get this proficiency when you are like 20 or 30 plus years of experience, and from everybody else, it seems like you are not doing anything. You are just like sitting at your desk as a magician, and everything is happening around you. So that's how you can be progressed and become mature in project management. And again, coming back to myself and my company, why I started teaching. When I was at novice level or advanced beginner level, and I attended different seminars or read books, project management appeared such a boring discipline to me. And it was hard to understand and to process information. There were so many dry terms, and I am quite like an emotional feeling person. So I assume it's going to be like easier to understand if it is written or explained to more like for a kindergarten. Maybe just because I was young, but still I believe like when I have dry information like in PM book, I can't understand, I can't concentrate. In 5-10 minutes, I became distracted, and I force myself to put the information into my brain and then force my brain to process it. So much mental work. And when I started teaching, I decided to make project management fun and cool, because we are fun and cool people. There is just lots of bureaucracy around us. And that's why on my webinars and on my boot camps, I create these funny illustrations and funny slides and teach you guys in a fun way. So you will feel relaxed, you will feel entertained, and at the end, you still have some takeaways, and you feel like your job became a little bit easier for you. And if you are interested in about project management, I highly recommend this book, PMP Exam Preparation by Rita Malkahi. Even if you are not interested in passing the PMP exam, this book is written in a very engaging manner with personal experiences and examples. So again, highly recommend to study this book if you want to improve your skills as project managers. And now let's move on to the next part, certification path to level up your market value. So if you have some experience or don't have experience at all, I would recommend you to start with the CAPM, then move on to PMP, professional management, project management professional. So this is a very important certificate. Its value in States, Canada, Europe, yes, in Asia and Africa as well. So it's basically a global certification. So if you have 4 years of experience, I highly recommend you to take this exam, and I'm sure you can increase your salary negotiation if you are here in Canada for like 30K or even 40K. And I remember myself when I moved to Canada, I didn't have PMP, so my market value was much lower than I passed PMP. When I passed PMP, my negotiation raised to like 30,000 Canadian dollars right away, and it was just because I was a shy immigrant, so I believed it was my personal problem that I didn't negotiate more, but still raise in 30K just after passing the PMP certificate, it's already significant raise. And if you want to work in IT, I recommend you this simple certificate for a Scrum Master role. So yeah, I see questions. So let's keep them for a Q&A, because I see we have audience with the professional project managers who are not interested, who already have the certification. So I will keep your questions for Q&A. And now let's look at significant difference between CAPM, PMP, and PRINCE2. So PRINCE2 is a significant certificate for Europe mostly. I never seen someone required PRINCE2 here in Canada, and never seen in States. And please, guys who are in States, write me in comments if you ever seen PRINCE2 required. Okay, I see no, not required in States. Wonderful. So CAPM is an entry-level project management certification provided by Project Management Institute International. PMP is an advanced level certification offered by PMI, and PRINCE2 have multiple levels of certification offered. So these two, CAPM and PMP, based on PMBOK, and PRINCE2, the methodology with detailed process models and templates. So CAPM answers the how part of the project. PMP also answers the how part of the project management, and PRINCE2 answers the what part of the project management. I will share these slides with you in personal email after this webinar, so don't worry if you didn't have chance to write down or didn't have chance to read all of these differences at a high level. And again, if you're interested more, let's keep it for Q&A session. Career and project manager. You can start as a project coordinator, and you see the salary range here on the slide from Indeed report from 2020. And again, it's an average rate. So for example, if you're in a bigger cities in States or Canada, your rate is be closer to 52 or even higher, because again, it's average, and it also depends on how you negotiate your salary. And if you're interested, I'm having a bootcamp this weekend about conflict resolution, but we are touching the negotiation part. So if you're interested on how to negotiate the salary, I can touch it on my bootcamp as well. Well, then you're becoming an assistant project manager, which is also an entry level. The requirements are bachelor degree, management training, and you can see the salary range. Then you become a project manager. After 2 years or 3 years of experience, you can get a senior project manager position. And again, this is the average rate for senior project manager, 82 to 102. And it's a full-time job. If you are a contractor like me and you have hourly rate, it's going to be higher, it's going to be significantly higher than what the offering here. And again, this is just your yearly rate without bonuses or any other privileges. And you're moving to director of project management, or just like any directorship or VP or AVP position. And again, like here on the slide, you are becoming a VP of project management, but it's not necessarily. You can be a VP of the department of the organization you are working in. So VP or director role doesn't necessarily mean that you are a director or VP of project manager. Okay, let's look at essential skills which make you a great CEO. And you can see the first two, clear communication, collaboration, negotiation, are completely identical with what we have for project manager. Open and growth mindset. I didn't place it for the project management role, but again, these are soft skills which are also important for project manager. Creativity and innovation. Yes, so maybe this one is not as important for project manager, but it can be an asset if you have a creativity and innovation mindset. Approachability, transparency, and ethics. And definitely CEO needs to have hard skills. It's important for CEO to understand the market, to understand budgeting, to understand sales and marketing. But again, nowadays, especially during COVID and post-COVID times, soft skills became top 5 or even top 7. And after that, they're going the hard skills. And as I like to say, soft skills are hard skills in business because it takes way more time to build soft skills than hard skills. So if you can see, project manager skills and CEO skills are related because all of them are leadership skills and soft skills. And as I mentioned before, that's why it's easier to transit to CEO or having experience as a project manager, working with people, practicing your soft skills rather than being a person who spent most of their daytime doing hard work and building their hard skills. And don't take me wrong, I don't diminish hard skills. And again, I am building on my hard skills. These are my weaknesses now, but still, nowadays, communication is a key and soft skills are key. So the purpose here is not diminish hard skills. It's opposite, is to make sure that everybody understands the importance of soft skills nowadays. Now, tips for non-project managers. First one, have a clear vision, understand the goal. Begin with the end in mind, and envision the finish line like a marathon runner to remain being focused and on task. And ask yourself a question: what do I need to produce to these influencers to meet the expectation? And these are two pictures of my half marathon running, 21 kilometers. This year I'm planning to run the full one, 42K. So I remember when I ran these marathons, it was really important to keep focused on my steps and keep pushing myself no matter what, no matter how tired I was, no matter how much I wanted to stop and take my breath or to drink some water. And definitely I drank during my run, but I drank while I was running, not when I stopped, because if you stop, it's almost impossible to push yourself to run. And envision the finish line was the key to success for me. So I didn't look forward when I was on like 12th or 13th kilometer because I knew I am too far from the finishing line. So if I keep like looking and searching the finish line somewhere in front of me, I knew that I wouldn't find because I still like too far from it. So this could be discouraging for my optimism. So I kept looking under my feet and kept doing one step after another and envisioning the finish line in my head, not in front of me. And also, we have limited time to run the webinar. It was, I think, 3 or 4 hours. It's hard to recall right now, but something like that. And if you finish your 21 kilometers, but you're not in this timeline, so nobody is going to be there, nobody is going to greet you at the finish line, and nobody will give you a medal. So you needed to keep your time management like you are doing a project. And when for example, when I walk, I can easily walk 21 kilometers because I like walking and I like refreshing my brain while I'm walking. And I like, to stop, to look around, to smell the beautiful flowers like I have in front of me. So I can just like stop and smell. But when I walk, I am not focusing on the goal, on the finish line, because I don't have a goal, I just walk. But if I run the marathon, I can't stop and enjoy the flowers. I can't stop and buy a croissant, for example, and have 10 or 15 minutes just standing or sitting in the cafe and then keep walking. So I need to keep running. I need to envision the finish line, and I need to remain being focused on my goal. And that's what you do as a project manager. Yes, you still can enjoy your time as a project manager, you enjoy your time with the team, you have fun, but you are focused on your tasks 24/7, and you keep envisioning the finish line until you are done. And what's helping you to envision this finish line is constantly asking yourself and your team a question: what do I need to produce to these influencers to meet the expectations? And what helped me to plan and to see this vision of my project is a Miro board. And I like the mountain of tomorrow, where I have my timeline, I have my milestones. I like to see this like tops of the mountain to address the most difficult part of the project milestones we need to achieve. So again, if you're interested, I can tell you in more details how I plan in a Miro board and how I brainstorm using a Miro, one of the tools, one of the most important tools in project management and Agile to facilitate the meeting. And again, in April, I'm gonna have a bootcamp about facilitation, how to be a great facilitator. So I'm gonna spend lots of time explaining how to work in Miro and with Miro board. Now, another tip for project managers: know your stakeholders, know their expectations, avoid perfectionism, and know your acceptance criteria and definition of done. So why these are important? So first, you need to know who you work for and who you need to satisfy at the end. So these people are your stakeholders, and definitely you need to know their expectations. And I know when you work with creative people, with developers, with UI designer, or whoever, they want to do their best for their clients. They want to show their professionalism, and they like challenges. So they might want to build a Taj Mahal for their client, having only good intentions in their heart, but their client might just need a neat garage. They don't need Taj Mahal, and appears that there's only one client wants a Taj Mahal, and 1,000 other clients, they just need a garage. So don't complicate your work. And as a project manager, sometimes you need to keep working with your team and explaining that just do it simply. We don't need these features. We need a certain budget, we need a certain timeline. So we just need to create a neat garage and avoid perfectionism, as we like to say in IT. Working software is not a perfect software. So again, the product we deliver, the project needs to be good, need to satisfy the acceptance criteria and what we considered done, what we agreed on with our clients, with our stakeholders. But it needs to be good, it needs to be working, but it doesn't mean that it's perfect. And if you can see another garage next to this cute and neat garage, so there are two garages, and if I say avoid perfectionism, it doesn't mean that we need to deliver the garage like on the second picture. I even don't know what is happening here, where are the doors and what is it in front of it. So we deliver a good project, but we are not overcomplicating it. We figuring out upfront the expectations, and that's what is making us a good or great project manager. We are 100% clear about the stakeholders' requirement, their expectations. We are delivering good but not a perfect project, and we are on time, on budget, and on scope. Another thing, understand complexity and understand the processes, the logistics, and bureaucracy. So when we start a project or when we start a business, so kind of easy and simple, like our first crossroad. But if we start working for large enterprise, or if we are working for the complicated project, eventually we keep adding processes, we keep adding logistics, bureaucracy appeared in our organization, and we never notice when it happened, and how fast our processes and logistics growing from this crossroad on the first picture to this mess on the second one. So our role as the project managers or coaches to understand this complexity and try to reduce it. So we, unfortunately, we can't minimize it because we are working like while we are flying, so we can't stop the processes. We still need to use these roads because these roads represent some processes and logistics, but we are trying to reduce complexity as much as we can. And on the third one, we still see something complex, something not very straightforward, but still it's easier to understand, and there are less roads than compared to the second one. So this is another tip to understand complexity and try to reduce it. Create a value stream mapping. So this is another good tip and idea for project managers, especially if you're new ones, to understand what is process time and how much time you spend on the task is really like valid for the project, and how much time you are wasting, and it will help you to eliminate waste. And let me explain you by example of the recruitment process. So we have a supplier, a recruiter, or HR, and we have a customer or managers or business leaders, and we have steps from creating requisition to the hiring a person. For example, a recruiter creates a requisition and it takes them 45 minutes. And then it takes 10 minutes to post the job. So 45 minutes is a useful time we do on our work, and 10 minutes is the time we don't do work. So it's kind of like a waste of time. And then the job posting, it takes us 15 minutes to job post, and then we are waiting for 12 days to gather 30 resumes for our application process. So 12 days, again, we are not working on our task, so it's still in progress. Then it takes 16 minutes to application process, then another 2 days until we get to screening, which takes 300 minutes. Then again, we wait 2 other days, and at the end we have already 10 people instead of 30. So we are working on choosing the best candidate. Then we spend 120 minutes on shortlisting, and again 12 days before we start the interviews with the managers and HRs. Then we get the job offer, and in 60 days it's going to be prep work. So you see that the cycle time is 4 days or 24 hours, and processes time it's 94 days. So if we calculate, we see that 96% time of this process is waste. And that's why creating this value stream map is important, to identify what time we are wasting and how we can reduce the waste time. So the last tips, have a well-defined project plan, have a communication plan, have a change log, have a decision-making log, and identify risks. So I want to stop on the change log and have a decision-making log. These are also very important, especially if we are working with different time zones with people all over the world, and we're going to touch this topic a bit later. So we can have meetings and talk and have action items and feel that the meeting was very productive, but not all our team members are participated in the meetings, or maybe we even have all people invited to participate in this meeting, but we don't have stakeholders in this meeting. So we made a couple of decisions, and which makes sense for us, and everybody in the room are aware about this decision, but some stakeholders might not know about it, and eventually it might bring to the problem of the project, because some people still believe that we are working in a different way. So decision-making log is a good information radiator about what was changed. So the stakeholders or people who were absent this day or who were on vacation, so they can come back to work, and it's going to be much easier for them to catch up, just having this decision-making log somewhere in Excel, Confluence, or whatever information radiator you guys prefer. Same with the change log. So it's different than decision-making. Decision can be like whatever decision we can make about the project, but change log, it's specifically about the changes. So I recommend to have two different documents for this. Or even like, there are two people talking in the kitchen if we're working on site, and we might talk about life and then eventually start talking about work again and make a decision during our coffee break. So there's a decision between two of us, for example, between two developers, but our testers might not know what we talked during the lunchtime. So the first thing is to come and to write down the new decision in our decision-making log. And as a project manager or a Scrum Master, when we facilitate meetings next time or daily stand-up, it's also a good question to address were there like any decision made yesterday in any meeting, so the team needs to be aware about. Because when people update you in the daily stand-ups, they might simply forget that they made this decision yesterday, or simply assume that they already updated and everybody know about it. So again, good facilitator asks these questions about any decision, or is there any information happened yesterday, what the other team members need to be aware about. And I also want to stop and have a communication plan. So it might be simple to communicate when you have just a couple of people in your team, but still, if you communicate properly, you can reduce the significant amount of time. And also it's about etiquette of communication, especially when we are working online. And for example, like the way I prepare it, I prepare a communication plan for the next day by finishing my day. For example, I need to ask a couple of people for a favor, or I need to write an email and expect some results from the other people. So we are humans and we seem to procrastinate. And if I procrastinate in writing these emails or having the phone calls with people, and eventually when I send this email, so it's going to be like wait time. So I knew that I need to write an email, but I did other tasks, and other tasks also could be important and crucial, urgent, or significant during the morning time, but still I am delaying the communication and I am stealing the time from my peer who is going to work on the requirements or tasks I am going to send to them. So what I do, I send the emails and I do all of the communication the first hour in my morning to make sure that the communication is flowing and I am not the bottleneck of my main processes and my tasks. Why I don't do it in the evening? Because I used to do it in the time I used to work on. So I am single and it's easier for me to work during the evening time. So I just wanted to, to offload my head and to write emails when I had the idea, or I need this person to finish this task for me. So I could write in the evening, I could write in the night time. Again, I don't have fixed schedule. Sometimes I work at night and sleep in the morning, sometimes the opposite. So my expectation was that people start working the next day and then see my email and they're going to reply it. But for other people who worked with different like micromanaging managers before, they felt stressed that they need to reply to me like right away, or at least like within the next hour. And I saw them messaging me in the morning, apologizing that they didn't see my email, that it was already too late, or the opposite, too early in the morning if I worked during the nighttime. And no matter how many times I said, like, don't apologize, I work my hours and I don't expect you to work after your hours required by work, people still felt stressed. So I want my team members to be happy. They already have enough stress without me. So I decided that I will have this messages hygiene and some like professional etiquette, and write them messages only during the working hours. So I might prepare them for myself. Again, I want to offload my head, so I write messages and save them in my notes. And then in the morning when I start working, the first thing I just send these emails to everyone. So people don't feel stressed because they're already at work and they see my emails, and I had communicated everything I needed to communicate. Now people can start working on that, or at least prioritize if they had other tasks to work on. So the communication is constantly flowing. Now let's move on to the risks, and you can see this cute fishbone diagram, which means we are talking about effect of the risks, causes, and sub-causes. And it looks like fish, and that's why it called fishbone diagram or root cause analysis diagram, because we are talking about the roots of the risk and analyze it. Now, I don't want you to pay close attention to this anemia root cause fishbone diagram. I just want to show you that even such a complicated project can be done and can be facilitated using the fishbone diagram. So if you are talking about balance of benefits and risk of preoperative anemia management versus no management, we see like the big bones, for example, reduction of mortality, thromboembolic events, rate of infections, duration of hospital stays, need for blood transfunctions, and the other causes, for example, here, reduction of mortality, low certainty of evidence, and some numbers, I even don't know what it means, indeterminate findings that encompass both reduction and increase of mortality. So if it's possible to do the root cause analysis for this complicated problem, so it's going to be much easier to use this diagram in our projects as well. So another table for helping us to manage risk is probability and impact. So we have the grade from very low to very high for probability, and from very low to very high to impact. So we can decide based on our risks if what kind of impact it has. Is it like medium impact or high impact, and what kind of probability, and then see the appropriate column for this. So we can assign time for this, or a budget, or action plans. So for example, if the risk is very low from the probability and low from the impact perspective, probably we won't spend time and budget. And even if this risk happen, oh, okay, we can deal with this when it happens. But when it's high impact and high probability, so definitely we need a mitigation plan for this risk. And there are some principles of lean thinking. We won't just spend time on this today because we don't have much time, unfortunately, but I highly recommend you to study each principles of lean thinking: eliminate waste, increase feedback, delay commitment, deliver fast, build integrity in, empower the team, and see the whole. So there is a book, Marie Poppendick, on principles of lean thinking. I highly recommend you to study it. And I am going to show it to you so you can see it and you can take a picture. Here it is. So let's move on to the questions you messaged me before the webinar. First, how to run productive meetings. And again, here is practice, practice, and practice. So these are very basic information on what you need to do. So before the meeting, first, ask yourself a question: do you even need a meeting? And it sounds simple, it sounds like common sense, but especially working online, we are used to have meetings and we do like meetings for the sake of meetings. But it's good to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of this meeting? What are we going to achieve gathering these people together? Are we going to brainstorm? Are we going to update the information? If it's just like the information update, the recommendation is to record a video or to write a document in Confluence or whatever information radiator you use and just update by email, and to then gather people together for a Q&A and maybe spend 5 minutes of the summary of the video you sent and encourage people to watch before. So that's how we can decrease the time people spend on meetings so they can be updated and the time convenient for them. Don't create meetings if you just want to update people with the information. Record a video instead. Start with the end in mind. Again, what is the purpose of it? Do we want to make a decision? Do we want to create actions? And to determine your agenda based on what you have and in mind. Determine the attendees. Determine who can solve this problem or have some action items, and then stick to the agenda and to the next step of this question: what you need to do during the meeting. Again, common sense: start on time and finish on time. But probably you noticed that not many meetings are starting on time because people come in late, again, especially working online. And not many meetings are finishing on time because the decision was over and people kept brainstorming and forget about the topic of the meeting. And then we didn't make a decision about the end, and we need to extend the time for our meetings. So again, we need to be great facilitators. We need to have courage to interrupt people when they talking too much. So start on time and finish on time. Take charge of time, because if you create a meeting, if you are a project manager, you are a facilitator, so you are time charger. So don't be afraid of being a time police and just stick to the agenda, and you might even like determine the time talking to each topic. But again, if the discussion is rich and you feel like there is something super productive is going to born after this discussion, so increase the amount of time, but still don't have unlimited time. Limit time, but increase it a little bit and keep moving and pushing people to action items. And even don't be afraid to interrupt people saying, yes, it was a great contribution, but I didn't get what kind of actions we can have after that. So push people think proactively and productively and create actions and not just talk for the sake of talking. Avoid groupthink. It means that everybody has the same opinion, or if we expand this topic a little bit, just make sure that everybody is feeling safe to contribute and feeling safe to produce their opinion. And again, you might see like extroverted people and introverted people in the group. So you need to facilitate the way so extroverted people can listen to introverts, and introverts have opportunity to speak up. But recommendation, don't start with introverts, because I'm an introvert myself, and I know how stressful it is when I just come to the meeting and the facilitator starts with me like, Aina, what do you think? And my name starts with A, my last name also starts with A, so I'm first in the alphabet. And I remember my school years and my university years when no matter what happened, no matter what question was that, I was always the first in the order, and I was the first who asked to express my opinion. And it was a hell for me because I was an introvert. So I need to go like deeper into my mind and think and process the question first and listen to one or two people expressing their opinion. And then I can put my thoughts together, put my thoughts in the words and speak up myself. But the other people like extroverts, they need to speak up right away. And one of the extroverts told me once that they have this urge to speak because they can't think like us introverts. Introverts, they think, they process everything, and then they deliver the result. Extroverts, they think while they speak. And sometimes they interrupt, not because they are trying to be rude, but because there are so many things are happening in their head. So they feel like their head is going to be like, is going to explode if they don't speak up right now. So if you see these different types of personalities, let extroverts to speak up first. They're going to be grateful to you, and introverts are going to be grateful if you give them some time. But don't let extroverts speak all the time, because it's going to be painful for introverts again when they are ready to speak up, but the extroverts kept talking, and when they start talking, one of the extroverts interrupted them. They feel like they need to hold it inside, and they try to contribute, but again, extroverts appear to be like more pushy than introverts. So they would feel discouraged, and maybe they have brilliant thoughts, but they would be tired of fighting for opportunity to speak, being in the room with extroverts. Now, this is very important for you as a facilitator to make sure that everybody could express their opinion, and we have different points of view, and we have action items out of this. Park irrelevant issues. This, again, if it's irrelevant, doesn't mean that it's not important at all. It could be super important, but it could be irrelevant for this meeting. So again, don't ignore this. It could be brilliant, it could be valuable for later. So that's why I encourage you to have Miro board, or again, any visual tool you use for your organization. Create a parking lot there and capture these issues in the parking lot. And maybe you will need to create another meeting to discuss this brilliant parking lots. But for this specific meeting, it could be a relevant conversation. So definitely take notes, confirm next steps, and after the meeting, follow up. And again, don't forget about decision-making log and change-making log. Moving on, managing team members in different time zones. So first of all, talk ground rules, and your ground rules need to be as much detailed as possible. As I gave you an example, I like writing emails in the time I like to work, like evening time or night time, and it's not appropriate for people who didn't work this time. So talk ground rules, for example, we can discuss in the team that we are in different time zones. It means we work different hours. So we might communicate something while we have our working hours, but it doesn't mean that the person can reply right away. So for example, if I have teammate in India who starts working 5 hours before me, we agree that this person can send me an email, but I won't read it until I start working. It means like 5 hours or so. So everybody needs to understand it. Everybody needs to be aware of the working hours and agrees about overlapping and the time we are working individually and separately. Schedule consistent meetings. This means if we are again in different time zones, somebody can be working early mornings or late evenings. So again, example with my Indian teams, if I schedule consistent meetings from like 8 to 9 p.m. their time, they already know that they can't have dinner with their family at this time, so they can push it 1 hour late or 1 hour earlier. And if I don't have consistent meetings, it's every day is going to be like surprise for them when they can spend time with their family in the evening. So consistent meetings is also a key of happy and productive team collaboration. We use collaboration tools, as many tools as possible to make the meetings engaging, because if we are different time zones, so we are meeting online, we are not meeting physically, and it can be very boring to see walking heads or talking heads, or even like being off cameras. But again, we used to have a camera on policy, but eventually people have Zoom fatigue, so it's might be challenging to show your face all the time. Collaboration tools help because again, you are not just listening the head like me right now who is talking. We all collaborate on mirror boards or using any other tools. So our brain is involved. We are productive. We are not just passive, relaxed listeners. We are actively involved in the conversation. And create information radiators, including decision-making log, change-making log, parking log, etc. So I talked about it, and if you want to know more, let's park it to Q&A. And another tip, record meetings. However, be very careful about it. And there could be many conflict meetings for project managers or agile coach. Like sometimes, especially in the morning, working with offshore teams, I might have 3 to 4 conflicting meetings at the same time, and I need to choose which one I'm going to attend today. So recording helps sometimes if I can attend one meeting which is important, and if I am not an active facilitator there, so I can watch the recording later. But sooner or later, there is an expectation that if a person is not there, they can watch it later. So watching recordings becomes an additional duty for us. And sometimes it can be like 3-4 hours of recording every single day. So imagine people spend like most of the time on their work in actually like being in meeting online or offline, but presenting at one meeting at a time. And then they need to have like at least 1 or 2 hours work. If we are leaders, if we are project managers, if they are developers, they need way more time to work, not just spending time in the meetings. But then we add in these 3-4 hours of recorded sessions for people to watch later. So it becomes a second shift, just watching recordings. So recording are very helpful. I like recordings, but again, encourage you to be very careful about it. And again, coming back to talk the ground rules. Let's say that if person is not in the meeting, we assume this person doesn't know what happened. This person won't watch the recording. If they do, it's for their own benefits, but we as a group assume that this person wasn't present today, and that's it. We don't want to have a second shift for people just watching our recordings. Tips on prioritization. So let's look at the mobile phone, and don't concentrate that it's BlackBerry right now. So Moscow prioritization. Moscow stands for must, should, could, and would. And if we talk about general mobile phone like 20 years ago, so we wanted our phone to be able to produce a call. So we would be able to call someone and we would be able to receive the call. So the opportunity to call was the must on this prioritization. Then let's say we need a keyboard to write a message. That was like another evolution of phones. So we wanted to send messages. So this feature was important right after the receiving the call. So this was should. And then we might have a camera. People, especially younger people, they wanted to take pictures of their phone, but still calling and texting was the most important. So having camera was just good in our prioritization. And having the internet browser was good because yeah, it would be cool, like to access our emails or scroll the internet, but again, it could drag so much power and energy and battery from our phone. So this feature would be nice to have, but still phone is for callings. So that was an initial thought on prioritization, and BlackBerry made these mistakes in 2010, 2012, still considering that this is a way on how we prioritize features on our phone. And then Apple appeared and they disrupted this way of the prioritization. So if they followed the BlackBerry Moscow analysis, they would say that having a screen would be like must because they decided to use a touch phone. Then to have camera could be like should, because they were attracted to the young audience. So young audience wanted to take pictures and keep them on phone, and having the internet connection could be like would, but Apple reconsidered this prioritization and made everything as must, like camera is must, calling is must, having the internet is must too. So that's how we prioritize. We talk to our stakeholders and we figure out their needs, and we figuring out what is most important for them. So unlike BlackBerry, Apple has spent way more time collaborating with the audience. So they knew their audience, they knew their needs, and they managed to prioritize and to build the product prioritized by the needs of the audience, meaning having the internet and having mini computer inside of their phone, using phone not just to receive calls and to be able to call and text, but also to have the access to the internet, to take pictures, to exchange music and pictures, and to do all other cool stuff we are doing right now with our phones. So this is the main tip on prioritization. Collaborate with your audience, with your stakeholders again, identify their needs and prioritize based on the needs, like list of features you have, and prioritize based on the needs of your stakeholders using Moscow prioritization must, could, must, should, could, or would. Another tip on the prioritization is the Pareto principle. So we spend 20% of effort to get 80% of the result, and the opposite, we spend 80% of effort just to get 20% of the result. So identify what 20% is giving you 80% of the result, and what other 80% of effort is giving you just 20% of the result. So in my case, in promoting my business, I use Instagram and I use LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, I spent way less time because LinkedIn doesn't require to record videos and to post every single day. So it takes me less time to create a post, and I get way more engaged professionals like yourself. I already have the right audience on LinkedIn. So spending my 20% of time and effort on LinkedIn is giving me 80% of the result in the networking, in finding clients, and also spreading the word about my business. And the Instagram, which is very popular to record reels, and it takes way more time to record reels, to edit reels. And you hear me, I'm not English the first language, so I speak with an accent, and I need to have subtitles to make sure that people understand what I am saying. So the Instagram takes me way more time to work on, but there is a very like mixed audience on Instagram, and having all of this effort, I still have unfortunately like 20% of the results, having maybe one or two people who are interested in the information I am providing there to each reel. So in my case, it makes sense to eliminate this 80%, to stop spending and wasting my time making reels on Instagram, and just focus on LinkedIn and engage with like-minded professionals there. And the last tip on prioritization is the Eisenhower matrix. So here we can decide if the tasks are not important and not urgent, or the opposite, not important but urgent, important and urgent, or not urgent and important. And the key is not urgent but important. So here where you strategize, here when you're making decision, and I highly recommend to book some time in your calendar to think about this important but not urgent stuff. Otherwise, you might lose the opportunity in your business, or the opportunity in strategizing your project and identifying risks in advance. And sooner or later, this task will become important and urgent. So it means like do it now. So if you keep fighting with urgent tasks every single day, you will be reactive, not the proactive. And our goal as project managers is to be proactive. So it means we need to manage the time and have realistic planning. Again, coming back to the start of this webinar. So not urgent and important. This is the key for us, for project managers, where we can decide, strategize, and prioritize. And not important, not urgent, just delete or eliminate these tasks. And if there is urgent but not important, delegate, find an assistant, find a volunteer, whatever. So don't waste your time and energy, and don't be stressed of having urgent stuff. So again, try to plan and manage your work to get away from urgency and to move to the important quadrants. What to do when your team is storming? So again, us as project managers, we need to spend time on effective communication, as I told at the beginning of this webinar. And unfortunately, communication means having unpleasant conversation with your peers, or sometimes managing conflicts with your teammates. And you know that on the team formation graph, all the teams are going through 5 stages: forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. So, and it's normal to be in the storming stage. Unfortunately, many team members and many project managers avoid storming stage, and hoping that we can do it quietly and just move into the norming stage, but no. If we keep ignoring and keep letting our feelings down and keeping them inside, we are having the latent storming phase, which can last for months or even years. And sooner or later, the atmosphere in the team becomes toxic. People stop talking to each other. People have fear to express their real opinion. So they just being nice, polite, and agree with each other. But when you come to this team, you feel the toxicity, and you don't understand what's going on, but you feel such a negative energy around, so you don't know what to do. So us as project managers, we need to have courage to go through this storming phase, to explain the team that it's normal to have the storming phase, that it's normal to have conflicts, and help them to be the mitigator and facilitator in their conflicts to move out the stage as smooth as possible. I am having a webinar and a bootcamp on conflict resolution this coming Saturday, March 26th. So feel free to sign up. I will send you links later. So let's look at competitive negotiations 3 approaches. A slide. So we might have soft or hard or analytic styles, and it's really like up to our personalities. So some people are assertive and dominative, so they might prefer the hard approach, like dominate the game to win. Some people like myself are soft, so my style is the agreement, the game of chance, success if agreement was reached without a contest of wills. My methods are making offers, disclose the bottom line. And there is an analytics type of negotiation, which means outreach. It's a game of tactic and strategy. The method is ask questions, gather data, use the reasoning to influence, search for the most logical conclusion, explain, explain, and explain. So project managers, I prefer us to stay with these 2 parts, soft and analytics, don't go hard. So me, I know that naturally I am more like soft negotiator. So I polished this strategy first, this approach, and then I needed to learn about analytics, methods, attitude, and goal. Some people are hard, so for them I would prefer to keep analytics style. It's easier to jump to the opposite, to the soft one. So if you know that you are hard, just stick with analytics first until you master that. But sometimes when the debates are so heated, and sometimes when we need to solve the problem urgently, it makes sense to have this hard approach as well, but again, don't use it when it's not necessary. And there are 5 levels of conflict. So the first one is problem to solve. It's information sharing and collaboration going on. So just the opinions are different. So from us project managers, there is no involvement in this space. The team can manage themselves on their own, and it's actually a good time to observe and see how the team is doing on the problem to solve stage. If they can't solve the problem on this stage, they might go to disagreement. It becomes a bit personal, and personal protection over collaboration. Language is guarded and open to interpretation. So again, like many project managers are scared at this stage and jumping in and try to resolve, but no, we still need to be observant. The team still is able to manage themselves, and they can. This is a sign for us that we can start working with the team and teaching them how to manage themselves during the disagreement part. And if they, and also during the disagreement, there can be like brilliant solution and brilliant ideas, and topics are out of the box race. So don't feel that you need to push this discussion to the first level. Let the team members opportunity to talk themselves first. Level 3, contest. So here it became in heated debates, winning over resolving, then which includes a personal attack. So this is a stage where us project managers need to jump in and bring the team to the disagreement phase. I won't spend much time here today. It's not the topic of today's webinar, but please welcome to my bootcamp on March 26th, and we will learn how to bring the conversation and the level of conflict a bit down to the disagreement stage. If we skip this contest, if we didn't jump in right away, and it happened to me and still happening right now, the team can get to the crusade phase. So protecting one's own group becomes the focus. So the recommendation here is just close the meeting today. Let people calm down a little bit, have a personal conversation one-on-one. So let them speak up to you about like all of their feelings about other team members. And then when they calm down, you have a group meeting where they already calm. They apologize, they acknowledge that they are not right, and we are back to peace and back to discussing our problem. And if you miss the crusade stage, sometimes very rare, it moves to the level 5, which is world war. It rarely happened, but again, it still happens. So recommendation here, close the meeting right away, no matter if they didn't finish talking. If you have to interrupt, just close, let people go to their corners if they are at work, or have one-on-one again with team members. If you're offline, maybe let them to drink some coffee or to do some exercise to decrease of the level of tension. Then talk to them one-on-one, and probably it will take more time for them to come back to peace compared to crusade. So it will happen like a couple of neutral meetings without having disagreements, some like information radiator or like status update, until they fully calm down, and then you can start working with the team. So that was all about today. Just a few more words about Finding Confidence and Conflict Bootcamp, which happening on March 26th. So please message me, tag on info@beagile.org or LinkedIn or whatever we are in our social media. So it costs just $67 per person, but it's going to be 4 hours of productive bootcamp, where we are going to learn about how to use BATNA and ZOPA during planning negotiation. We will be able to resolve heated conflict. We will be able to navigate through tension, sparkle ideas. At the end, you will receive checklists and playbooks. And what we're going to use interactive slides, mirror board to practice in live. You will have practical cases, real life scenarios where we can practice to resolve conflict and negotiate. You will be breaking out the rooms and discuss with yourself, and then play with me and tell me about your takeaways. So again, we're going to use the engaging slides like you see here atop the transferable skills, and that's why I brought this slide here, because negotiating and facilitating are the most important skills for project managers. And if you get any of the skills somewhere before, even before you get an official title of the project manager, you can easily transfer this to your job. Or if you don't have the skills, highly recommend to learn, because the people skills are the key to success in our role. And if you want to develop this, please welcome to my bootcamp on March 26th. Just message me on LinkedIn or info@beagile.org. So I have a couple of positive feedback, and I placed just 2 here about my teaching skills. And again, just to finish high this year, I was nominated as the Woman Inspiration of 2022, and also nominated to the Immigrant Entrepreneur of the Year in Canada. So definitely my skills and the tools I teach you are valuable. And the last comment for today, if you found my webinar useful and you have takeaways, so I wrote a book. It starts with you how to get going in your career. You can find it on Amazon. It costs just $10. So if you can purchase it, I am helping my peers in Ukraine who lost their shelters and lost their homes, and unfortunately need to find shelter and need to find a new place where to live. So I donate all profits I earn from this book. So if you find my webinar value, please go to Amazon and purchase it just for $10, but you can help my friends and people in Ukraine to survive this horrible war which is happening to my country. And thank you very much again for listening to me, for spending the last 1.5 hours with me, and let's move on to Q&A. And I see you started messaging to me interested in my webinar. So when we finish with Q&A, I will send you an email with the registration links. And now I think you can text me on the chat or unmute yourself and please raise your question.